so glad you stayed with us. I'm here today talking to Pippa Carter about the idea of raising children on purpose. You're watching Thrive, and I'm Sandra Bishop. So, Pippa Carter, I am so excited about this. Now, tell me, how does being a teacher play into your role as a mom?
Well, it absolutely helps me. I went into the teaching profession after my firstborn went into school. I found that I was one of those helicopter moms, you know, the kind that they say are, you know, just going around their kid just to make sure that everything was okay. And between her kindergarten teacher and the kids, I found that that was something that I really liked doing. So went back to school again, got teaching certification, and started teaching. What it does is, number one, it gives me some good grasp on content. Although I'm a social studies teacher, you know, my colleagues, they do the math and the sciences and all those things. So, you know, by the time my kids say get to the level where I teach, because, you know, when they were little kids, they would help me grade papers and all those kind of things. And it really does kind of help me stay on task with content, which then helps them stay on task also. Another thing is that, you know, I know what's going on in a classroom during the day. And I know that although my children are great, they're not angels either. They're my kids. So I know that, you know, they're not necessarily the total innocents. And I've gotten phone calls from teachers. You know, I get phone calls too. And it's not my first reaction to tell the teacher that my kid didn't. Look, they are children. They are out from under my thumb for a minute. And they probably had a little something to do, because teachers don't have time to make these calls. I tell my students all the time, look, if I call, it's over for you, because I'm going to lay it out on the line. You take up too much of my time. So, you know, knowing that it takes a teacher extra time to email me or to call me or, you know, communicate with me, you know, it helps me with my kids, interactions with my teachers, because, you know, the communication aspect is what's so important as far as, you know, your children and teachers. Because there come issues. If my kids don't have A's in something, I need to know why. And then, and first I ask, you know, what's up with this? How come you didn't do this? Why was this late? Because my district actually has it where I can look online and see every single grade.
No, that's the Orange District.
That's the Orange School
but
district.
you teach in...
I teach in the Cleveland.
In the Cleveland Public School District.
Right.
Okay, and so you can look online to keep track of things from
Homework,
where you are.
Quizzes, everything, and it's wonderful.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, so that enables me to kind of keep on top of my own kids and just keep it moving.
Now, you know, we always, I remember in being in grade school, and the teachers would have their children in school, and they'd be so proud coming in telling us about their kids. And, you know, you're thinking that the teachers' kids are always smart, you know. And I just used to always wonder about if it was just something that came natural, or if it was because of the influence that you already had from your parent being a teacher. So that's special. So, and then you get to know all the teachers too as a result of you being a teacher.
Right.
Are you up at the school constantly, or how do you do that?
Well, I have been up at my kids' schools, and I'm one of those parents, if there's something going on and, you know, a breakfast here and a this and a that. When they were little, I did all the field trips, the zoo trips, and out to Hale Farm, and, you know, all of those different things that you do, because that gives you a chance to bond with your kid and also to see who your kid's hanging out with, who are their friends and what's going on there, and also, you know, providing support to the faculty, because that's real important.
So now, would anybody call you an overbearing mother?
My children. No, my children probably are like, oh, why is she here? But their friends love seeing me, because sometimes if I've been up at the high school, you know, I see my daughter's friends, and then they're like, hey, how are you? And they come up, and then they go looking for my kids and tell me, Mom is up at school. And my children are necessarily mortified most of the time, but it's okay.
Now, it seems like you're managing this really well. How do you do with dating with having two teenage daughters in the house?
Oh, I had to, no, I had to make a choice because some years ago when I first started teaching, and even before teaching, when I was, in my law practice and prosecuting and doing defense work, you hear all of these stories of the boyfriend or the baby mama or stuff. They come in the house, and it's just like horror stories that you've heard throughout and just unnecessary things. So if I have a relationship, that relationship is between me and that potential, that potential person, but that does not come into my house where my children and my family live. It's just one of the things that over the years made it real easy for me. I know a lot of people don't agree with this, but if you bring someone into your home around your children, your kids are naturally going to form a bond. And if it's not that person that you are going to marry, jump the broom, et cetera, then when you cut off that relationship with that man, then your kids are also cut off from that relationship. And I've seen a lot of kids go through a lot of drama and just trauma over somebody that's not their father, but they still form that bonded relationship. I have male relatives. I have males that are friends of the family and what have you that I'm not romantically linked with. So my kids have male role models, but they're not going through that drama. I don't have to worry because my daughters are pretty banging. They're built sisters. They're cute. So I don't even need that unnecessary even seed of a thought in the back of my mind.
Okay. And how about spiritually? How are you with your children spiritually? What kind of background are you giving them in that regard?
Well, one of the things that I noticed when I was doing criminal defense work is that kids that go to church don't go to jail.
Okay.
It's not true for each and every one of them. It's a generality. But for the most part, if a kid had a spiritual upbringing and background in the church, it was very less likely that they go to jail. And as a single parent bringing up 3 kids at the time, I'm like, okay, let me make my life a little easier. So while I was actually married, I joined the church with my kids. They were all baptized in the church. They have all come up in the church. They've done mission trips. My daughter Angel went to, where did she go? She went down to where Katrina was, and she took a roof off a house and built a roof. She's been in Chicago and just all over doing mission trips. My middle daughter, and I'm trying to think, she was CCYD, which is, it's an organization of young United Methodist kids, and they kind of set policy in the Northeast Ohio area. My son goes and he participates, and actually, in the church Christmas play, he was Scrooge, so he had to leave. Yeah, it was hysterical. But they've all grown up in the church, and I can't see anything wrong with that.
That is fabulous. So now if you had a tip, a couple of tips to give single parents, what would it be?
I would say, first of all, get your kids involved in a church. Get them some spiritual grounding and activities. It's a different perspective, and they need those perspectives.
Okay, and quickly. Okay.
And quickly. And the other thing is just be there for your kids. They didn't ask to be born, and it's our responsibility to take care of them, so you have to come out of your happiness for them.
Okay. I am so glad I had an opportunity to talk to you about this. A lot of people know that I don't myself have children, but I'm always there advocating on the behalf of children and single parents. So I'm so glad that you were here and had the opportunity to come in and share.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm so glad. This has been Thrive, and I'm Sandra. And you know what? I've got some homework for you, so I'll be right back. Stay tuned.